Okay, hi. Yeah,
Hi.
it'll be just us. Then Manju will join later. She'll join at 7.
Yeah. I was thinking, in fact, from later Mondays, I don't mind if on one day, Monday, if it is convenient, we do 7 to 8 for her. That is all
Okay.
right. Like, one day can be an exception. We all, if
Uh,
you think that will not be confusing because maybe we are postponing. So we will not forget. Generally, forget thing happen in a
right.
schedule when it's like if we are doing at 5:30, then we might end up forgetting.
Early.
Right. Huh. So yeah, if that can be done, I feel,
ठीक है.
if you think.
Okay, I'll let her know. कि Mondays we'll sit later and otherwise बाकी दिन
Hmm.
का we'll keep it 6:30.
Hmm.
ठीक है. Okay. Anything from, just thoughts from the previous session or question?
No, yeah, but I think once it will move, na, because also it was on Friday, so 2 दिन का जो gap आया है, and I did not really
Uh,
revise anything.
right.
So yes, if you are going to do any summary, then I think वहां से कुछ निकलेगा तो I will ask.
ठीक है, ठीक है. So, okay, we had started talking about how humans want to live in orderliness and how all of existence is comprised of four orders, and all the other three orders, of which humans are the supreme most order, and how the other three orders are mutually complementary as well as complementary to humans. But humans have not been able to find any basis for being complementary to any of the other three orders or even to ourselves, like each other. And he says that this is because the two kinds of ideologies that we have followed up till now, which is either it was materialism or it was idealism, both of these ideologies led to individualism. So materialism led to individualism because materialism propounded that the ultimate purpose of human life is to accumulate and consume goods, and therefore, since there are limited resources on this planet, and if all of us need to maximize our consumption, then naturally there's going to be like um, our purposes are clashing with each other. There will always be a deficiency of resources, so that leads to individualism because we have to compete with each other for the limited resources that exist. So materialism leads to individualism in this way. And idealism eventually leads to individualism because they preach detachment from society, because it preaches that this world is not the final place for humans. The actual shelter is with God, and therefore we must detach ourselves from these worldly pursuits. And so it preaches detachment, which itself leads to individualism. So, in this way, we haven't been able to find any way or any principle of human complementarity. And without understanding that, we are not able to live out complementarity. We are unable to find our principle of order. And given that we are sanskar conforming entities, we need to receive it from the tradition in order to understand it. Basically, it means that our nature depends on our education instead of on our hereditary. So that is what we had been discussing. And yeah, also how if someone becomes responsible, then first they will evidence their responsibility in the family, and then they will evidence it in the society, then the nation, and then internationally. So it will flow this way. And eventually, this is the way for achieving a united society and a global order. So
So by responsibility, you mean Vyavastha or no? Vyavastha is bigger term. Responsibility
yeah.
is a part of it.
Yeah, so Vyavastha is the system that we figure out. Responsibility is what roles we will play in that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
So yes, have we
mhm.
talked about this? That Swayam mein Vyavastha, that how the examples of that, or it will come,
No, we
or
haven't talked about
we haven't,
what
no?
Swayam
Yes.
Vyavastha is. We have just talked about how Swayam Vyavastha or becoming orderly in oneself happens based on understanding. So he had
Hmm.
said that there is understanding that leads to sincerity or honesty,
Hmm.
that leads to समझदारी से ईमानदारी, ईमानदारी से zimmedari. So responsibility comes based on our understanding and our sincerity. And then when we are knowledgeable, when we are sincere and responsible, on that basis, we are able to participate. So now whether that participation also requires us to be orderly within ourselves. But basically our own order comes from our understanding. And then the rest, the sincerity and the responsibility and the participation is in the larger limit. So first and foremost is being orderly in oneself. Our understanding leads us to be completely resolved in our thoughts. That will come again and again actually in the future, how we can be fully resolved in our thoughts. Otherwise, we are in the individual, there is always there's a bunch of contradictions and confusions, and things seem to be at odds with each other. So the first thing that understanding leads to is this coherent integrity within our own thoughts. So that will happen. Another thing I wanted to draw attention to, we had covered it, I think, 2 sessions back, but we hadn't actually paused on it so much because I got too lost figuring out the words for it. So when we had talked about Vidya, Vidvan, and Vidya, Vidvata, and Vidva. So the words that I've decided now can be knowledge. Vidya can be knowledge, simply. Vidvata can be scholarship, and Vidvan can be scholar. So what he was saying was that knowledge is itself all of existence. And of course, the Jeevan is also part of existence. So knowledge is of this existence and of the Jeevan. Then scholarship happens within the Jeevan. And the scholar is the human being. Who is going to now carry it and live it also. And what he had said, which was very valuable, was that this is what helped me understand the value of the Jeevan and the value of the human being and the value of existence also. The value of the Jeevan, why value, matlab, why is it there? Why do we need it? So the Jeevan is needed because it is the only entity which is capable of having scholarship. And the human being, why is a human being valuable? The value of a human being is that it is the only entity capable of being a scholar. So that is the
proof of scholarship is a scholar human, in that way. Like then it becomes like human body is in a way a source to prove scholarship to yourself or anyone. But if you want to do that praman, then
not only prove scholarship, but also it's not so there's a difference between prove and evidence. It's like there is something to be evidenced. That is why we evidence it, in the sense that no one cares if we don't prove that we know something.
Correct.
But it is the evidence of what reality is. So existence is an order. And we are able to understand, we are the entities that are capable of comprehending that this is an order. And we are the entities that are able to freely, willingly choose to be part of that order, not in a pre-programmed way. We are the only entities that are capable of, like, we had the choice to not participate in it also. But we are capable of understanding the entirety of this order. We are the entities that are capable of then, upon understanding, also be able to evidence it in our own free and creative ways. So that is the potential, and that is the, uski mahima, manav hone ki mahima ye hai. And then you imagine कि हम कहाँ लगे पड़े, where are we employing our energies?
Yeah. Nice.
So
Thank you for
that was
bringing this out
beautiful.
back. Yeah. Perfect.
I
Nice.
found it later on. I was thinking about it, and I realized, that was such a quite an important point he had made. And I also had said that on this basis, I understood the value of existence also. Value of existence is that it is the manifestation of this beautiful fundamental coexistence. Matlab, at the fundamental level, matter is saturated in space. And then all of existence is a manifestation of that beautiful coexistence. And what is the beauty of that coexistence? That we'll understand slowly as we go forward.
Beauty
So,
of coexistence, you mean, no? You're saying.
yeah.
And will we also talk about reason of existence overall? Like, if you look at this entire cosmos, everything is happening, okay? 4 states are there, but why they are there?
Exactly. Yeah, that is the whole point. That is the whole point. That's exactly what this was about. Ki, why is everything there? What is its value? Value is always a why, right? So why is all of this there the way that it is there? And the answer to that is that coexistence at the fundamental level. In fact, this also talks about looking at content or looking at the world at 4 levels. So there is the macro level, sthul, then there is the sukshma level or the subtle level. So the macro level is the overall, what is the word I'm using for rachna? Compositions that you see, like trees and human bodies and buses and rivers and mountains and galaxies. These are the overall natural compositions. So that is macro. And the next level is subtle. So subtle is at the level of the atom. So because all compositions are made up of atom, at the next level, one level below the macro, you can see that everything is made up of atoms. So that is the subtle level. Then if you go even below that, there is the level of causality. So sthul, sukshma, karan. So the level of causality, even for atoms, is the nature of the nucleus. Because why does an atom behave the way it does? Because its nucleus is a certain way. That is determining all the interactions and all the behaviors of all atoms in all of existence. So that is the level of causality. And then there is the absolutely fundamental level, which is called the Mahakaran, level of Mahakaran, or how can I translate Mahakaran? Something causality, ultimate causality. So Mahakaran is coexistence. And the whole process of understanding is understanding how this macro is determined by the subtle and how the subtle is determined by the causality, and how this all causality is determined by this singular ultimate causality. So that is the whole process of understanding and the process of study.
Okay. Okay, let me be with it for some time, because
Okay.
I'm still not haven't got around Mahakaran coexistence. Why is, like, again, why coexistence is
Yeah, how is
Mahakaran?
this Mahakaran? Yeah.
Because yes, it feels like coexistence is a reason to reach somewhere, or there should be some, is there a purpose? So if coexistence, yeah, so
Right,
let's,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're
Therefore,
saying the
yeah,
end point is coexistence, right?
it is
In a way.
actually, it says the only language for it is uh, in, by, and for. May se ke liye. It is all may se ke liye coexistence, in, by, and for coexistence. So that is what this entire thing is going to elaborate on. Because you asked about why cosmos is, I'm just saying that that is what is addressed. That's exactly what is addressed in Astitva Darshan, in the holistic view of existence, which is part 1 of what to study.
Got it. Yes.
All right, so let's continue. Let's hope I remember where we had paused.
What happened?
I was trying to find out the place.
हुआ है वो मानव ही अपने ताना बाना से राहत पाने के लिए वो स्वयं सोचना ही पड़ेगा, इतनी ही बात।
No, we haven't done that.
विद्या का दृष्टा कौन है? जीवन में है वो, इन सब में पूरकता विधि है। तो वनस्पति संसार भी व्यवस्था के रूप में ही रहता है, और पदार्थ भी रहता है। इस ढंग से पदार्थ में सभी व्यवस्था के रूप में होने का फलस्वरूप ही है इनके परस्पर पूरकता विधि से ही मानव करने की आवश्यकता, तभी मानव व्यवस्था में जीने का प्रमाण मिल पाएगा। इस ढंग
हाँ, it is under consideration. I think we paused there, na? That they are all complementary, and humans being complementary is still under consideration. You're muted.
We also covered that last time only, na, that we can do one attempt in this direction also of living
Is that
together.
after this?
I think before
पूरा
this.
करने की आवश्यकता, तभी मानव व्यवस्था
Yeah.
में जीने का प्रमाण मिल पाएगा। इस ढंग से अस्तित्व का स्वरूप आप हमको एक सामान्य रूप में आता है और जरूरत पड़ने पर जो पहले कही गई जो वांग्मय है उसको देख करके और भी विशद अध्ययन कर सकते हैं। उसके बाद आता है विद्या का धारक वाहक कौन है?
That I think had happened earlier, so that is where we had paused.
और जरूरत पड़ने पर व्यवस्था में जीने का प्रमाण मिल पाएगा। संसार भी बसी हुई है। इस ढंग से पदार्थ में सभी व्यवस्था के रूप में होने का फलस्वरूप ही है इनके परस्पर पूरकता विधि से ही मानव संसार भी बसी हुई है। मानव के लिए सब पूरक हो चुके हैं, किंतु मानव इनके लिए पूरक होना अभी भी विचाराधीन है ही। वो उसको पूरा करने की आवश्यकता, तभी मानव व्यवस्था में जीने का प्रमाण मिल पाएगा।
So, humans are all other orders are complementary to humans. They support the human life, but humans being complementary to everything else is as yet under consideration. So that is what is needed, and it is only upon humans becoming complementary to all other orders and to itself will we be able to evidence the complete human tradition.
इस ढंग से अस्तित्व का स्वरूप आप हमको एक सामान्य रूप में आता है और
In this way, we can understand the nature of existence in a very simple manner, in a very simple way.
जरूरत पड़ने पर जो पहले कही गई जो वांग्मय है उसको देख करके और भी विशद अध्ययन कर सकते हैं।
And if it is necessary, then we can always do a more detailed study of existence based on the previously mentioned literature.
उसके बाद आता है विद्या का धारक वाहक कौन है? जीवन। विद्या का
After that, what comes is what is the bearer and carrier of knowledge? That is the Jeevan.
मतलब समझदारी हुई, समझदारी का धारक वाहक है जीवन।
Knowledge means understanding, and the Jeevan is the bearer and carrier of understanding.
विद्या का दृष्टा कौन है? जीवन।
Who is the witness or the seer of knowledge? It is the Jeevan.
ठीक है। और जो विद्या को प्रमाणित करने वाला कौन है? मानव। मानव शरीर और जीवन के साथ होता है, उसी स्थिति में मानव परंपरा में प्रमाणित हो पाता है। समझने वाला और उसको वहन करने वाला जीवन ही होता है।
And who is the one that evidences knowledge? That is the human. A human is the composite of a Jeevan and the human body. And it is only a human who can evidence understanding within the human tradition. But the bearer and the carrier of knowledge and the seer or witness of knowledge is the Jeevan itself.
ये बात को अच्छी तरह से देखी गई है। आप भी अपने में जांच सकते हैं, जांच करके अपने में विश्वास अर्जन कर सकते हैं। विश्वास अर्जन करने के बाद आपका प्रयोजन को आप स्वयं पहचान सकते हैं।
This is something we have seen very clearly, that I have seen very clearly. You can also see it, and you can also check it out. And upon checking it out within yourself, you can also generate the confidence within yourself. And upon generating this confidence, you can present the evidence.
अपने में जांच सकते हैं, जांच करके अपने में विश्वास अर्जन कर सकते हैं। विश्वास अर्जन करने के बाद आपका प्रयोजन को आप स्वयं
Right. And upon generating the confidence on this, you can yourself identify your own purpose.
पहचान सकते हैं। इस ढंग से अस्तित्व में पूरा का पूरा व्यवस्था की आवश्यकता है। मानव ही व्यवस्था के लिए अपने आप में बनाया हुआ ताना बाना से परेशान हुआ है। वो मानव ही अपने ताना बाना से राहत पाने के लिए वो स्वयं सोचना ही पड़ेगा।
In this way, all of existence is orderly, and humans themselves have found themselves to be dissatisfied by the fabric of the systems they have developed, and so they must themselves
लिए अपने आप में बनाया हुआ ताना बाना से परेशान हुआ है। वो मानव ही अपने ताना बाना से राहत पाने के लिए वो स्वयं
And so humans themselves will have to think of the ways to find relief from these dissatisfying or problematic systems that they have developed.
सोचना ही पड़ेगा, इतनी ही बात। उसके बाद आता है जीवन। ठीक है, जीवन के बारे में पहले आपको ये एक सूचना दी थी कि जीवन के रूप में हर मनुष्य में जीवन समान रूप में विद्यमान है। जीवन किसी शरीर में जीवन बड़ा छोटा ज्यादा कम ऐसा सारा द्वंद्व से मुक्त है।
After that comes the Jeevan. Regarding the Jeevan, I had already informed you that the Jeevan is exactly the same in all individuals, that the Jeevan is exactly equal, that there is no Jeevan that is smaller or bigger or thinner or fatter or anything like that. It is free of any such sort of dvandva or contradictions. Dvandva is actually dialectic or something that is contrary, that is in strife and in conflict. So yeah, there is no big or small in Jeevans. All Jeevans are equal. They are all identical.
सभी की शरीर में शरीर को चलाता हुआ मानव शरीर को चलाता हुआ सभी जीवन एक ही प्रकार से है, एक ही प्रकार की बल शक्ति होते हैं और स्वरूप एक ही होती है और लक्ष्य एक ही होता है।
So all the Jeevans that are running the human body are all identical. They all have the exact same powers and forces, and they all have the same forms, and they all have the same goals.
जीवन का लक्ष्य होता है सुख शांति संतोष आनंद, ये जीवन लक्ष्य।
The goal of the Jeevan is happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. That is the goal of the Jeevan.
जीवन लक्ष्य सफल होता है, मानव लक्ष्य सफल होता है, मानव लक्ष्य सफल होता है, जीवन लक्ष्य सफल होता है।
When the Jeevan goals are fulfilled, the human goals become fulfilled. When the human goals become fulfilled, the Jeevan goals become fulfilled.
मानव लक्ष्य को मानव सफल करने के क्रम में जो माने विधि है उसके बारे में थोड़ा दूर तक अपन पहुंचे हैं और भी आगे चल करके और दूर पहुंचेंगे, पास तक पहुंचेंगे। ठीक है।
Regarding the human goals, we have discussed it a bit and we have reached a little far in discussing how to achieve the human goals, and we will continue to discuss it further and we will reach much closer to how the human goals can be attained. All right.
तो इस विधि से हम जो जीवन का लक्ष्य सुख शांति संतोष, सुख कैसा होता है भाई पूछा, तो समाधान बराबर सुख.
So in this way, the Jeevan's goals are happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. Now, how do we get happiness? How does happiness occur? So the answer is that resolution equals happiness.
जो जिन जिन विधाओं में हम समाधानित रहते हैं, वहाँ सब सुख का हम अनुभव करते हैं. जहाँ जहाँ समस्या से पीड़ित होते हैं, वो पीड़ा होता ही है. इसके लिए कोई तो सामने रखी हुई बात है.
So wherever we experience resolution, wherever we find resolution, in those areas we experience happiness. And wherever we are met with problems, there we experience the pains of that problem. That is something which is in front of all of us.
Yeah.
इस ढंग से
Would you say rather than problem, lack of samadhan is more clear to put it, understand, like in a way, conflict. Wherever there is resolution, you feel happy, whether in relationship, whether in any aspect, non-relationship aspect. And wherever there is conflict, unresolved, that becomes a source of unhappiness, and that is equivalent to unhappiness in a way.
Right. So actually, if you see samasya or problems are nothing but the lack of resolution. So you're right in that. But to say that they are all conflicts, that requires a deeper study of it, because this is also talking about, say, you're not able to open the lid of a box. You're trying really hard. A child is trying really hard. That is also a small level problem. That also gives frustration. So in that way, conflict is much deeper. They are the conflicting ideas within ourselves, or conflicts with other people, contradictions. Essentially, that's what becomes our major problems. But it's easy to identify the word problem with the smallest of problems that we face. Basically, it's because we are not able to figure out how to resolve that issue, whatever it may be. That's a problem.
Yes, makes sense.
समाधान के फलस्वरूप हम सुखी होने की बात समझ में आता है. उसके बाद परिवार में हम जीते हैं, प्रमाणित होने की स्थिति में हम शांति का अनुभव करते हैं. व्यवस्था में जीने के अर्थ में हम संतोष का अनुभव.
So we can understand how happiness is a consequence of resolution. Then when we live in a family, when we live happily when we live in a family, as a consequence of that, we experience peace. And when we live in the larger order, and when he says order here, he's talking about the systems or the social system. When we live in the system, then we experience contentment.
करते हैं. तो हम अपने समझदारी को प्रमाणित करने के अर्थ में हम आनंद का अनुभव करते हैं. इस ढंग की आदमी का स्थिति.
And when we are in the state of evidencing our own understanding, in that state we experience bliss.
को प्रमाणित करने के अर्थ में हम आनंद का अनुभव करते हैं. इस ढंग की आदमी का स्थिति है. यदि हम प्रमाणित हो पाते हैं, स्वाभाविक है परंपरा में ये समझदारी बहती रहेगी. और
So this is the state of human being. And if we are able to evidence this, then it is natural that there will be an increase in understanding within the human tradition as well.
स्वाभाविक है परंपरा में ये समझदारी बहती रहेगी और इसका कहीं भी रुकने वाली बनता नहीं. इस क्रम में हम सुख शांति संतोष आनंद को अनुभव करने के लिए योग्य हैं। जीवन यह हमको समझ में आता है, जीवन रूप में जीवन के लिए ही समझ में आता है।
Sorry, I think I'll have to. Yeah, there's a bit of.
रहेगी और इसका कहीं भी रुकने वाली बनता नहीं। इस क्रम में हम सुख शांति संतोष आनंद को अनुभव करने के लिए योग्य हैं। जीवन
Oh, so there is no reason for our happiness, peace, prosperity. Sorry, happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. Sorry. So yeah, if we evidence this in ourselves, then undoubtedly, naturally, this understanding will continue to increase in tradition, and there is no way for it to stop. There will be no reason for that understanding to stop within tradition. And in this order, we go about doing yoga. I
Experiencing.
went yoga.
Sorry, go
Yoga.
on.
He said something like this. For in
Yogya,
this,
yogya.
I want to ask you for a favor.
I heard.
Do you-
I thought I heard yoga.
Let's rehear. I think he said we are yogya to experience all this in this sequence. Happiness, sukh, shanti, santosh.
योग्य ही है maybe.
आती रहेगी और इसका कहीं भी रुकने वाली बनता नहीं। इस क्रम में हम सुख शांति संतोष आनंद को अनुभव करने के लिए योग्य हैं। जीवन
Right. In this way, we are capable of experiencing happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. The Jeevan is capable.
यह हमको समझ में आता है, जीवन रूप में जीवन के लिए ही समझ में आता है। जीवन
This is something that we understand, that is needed for the Jeevan, in the form of the Jeevan.
शक्तियाँ अक्षय है, इसके बारे में आप पहले एक बार ध्यान दिलाए थे। हम जितने भी मैंने कल्पना करते हैं, करता हूँ, और वो उससे ज़्यादा कल्पना के लिए, और जो विचार करता हूँ उससे ज़्यादा विचार के लिए, और उससे ज़्यादा इच्छा के लिए, उससे ज़्यादा संकल्प के लिए, उससे ज़्यादा प्रामाणिकता के लिए हमारे पास शक्तियाँ सदा सदा तत्पर रहता है।
Right. So, Manjuji, you have just joined, so I'll just catch you up. We are talking about the goals of the Jeevan. So we've concluded, we had concluded the human and how everything else on this planet, in the universe, all other orders are complementary and orderly, but humans need to become orderly. Then we moved on to the Jeevan and how the Jeevan's goals are happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. Now, happiness, he had shared, is a consequence of resolution. Peace is a consequence of living in the family. Contentment is a consequence of living in order in society, living in the social system. And bliss is a consequence of us evidencing our own understanding. So these are the four goals of the Jeevan. And yeah, so now we're discussing how, what the Jeevan, and he says that the Jeevan is capable of experiencing this, and it is doing everything for experiencing this, these four goals. And it is, why is it capable? Because of its form. Its form is such that it is capable of experiencing this. And in continuation of that, he explains that I had already mentioned that the powers and the forces of the Jeevan are inexhaustible. So why had we said they are inexhaustible? He says, because no matter how much I hope, there is always space for me to hope even more. No matter how much I think, there is always space for me to think some more. No matter how much I desire, I can always desire more. No matter how much resolve I hold, there is always space for more resolve. And no matter how authentic I am or how much I authenticate, there is always space for greater and further authentication. There'll be the last three are a bit out of reach and unfamiliar, but that will get covered eventually. But the first three you understand: hoping, thinking, and desiring. So
But
that
how do
he's
you
saying is,
correlate that there is scope for more, unlimited and more, as compared to it's a fulfilled Pramanu.
Right, right. So it's a fulfilled, structurally, configurationally fulfilled,
Okay, okay,
but
got it.
it has something else.
Quality is such a.
Yeah.
What is unexhausting? Evidence. The way to keep evidencing happiness is unexhausting.
So it has inexhaustible powers
Inexhaustible.
and forces.
Jeevan.
The Jeevan. So by virtue of being a configurationally complete atom, it has inexhaustible powers and forces.
Got it. Got it. And then you're saying forces, hope is inexhaustible and desire is inexhaustible.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that is what this is a bit. There's a new way of thinking
Lovely.
about an atom and a
Yeah.
new way of thinking about powers and forces and all that. So slowly, slowly it will become clearer. Why a configurationally complete atom means that there is inexhaustible power, and how is hope and thinking and desire a power or a force. So that is something that will slowly become clear. But just to kind of put it out there, it is by virtue of being configurationally complete and configurationally now absolutely stable that it has this inexhaustible powers and inexhaustible forces. That will be elaborated on. Actually, I can just say because it's absolutely stable and configurationally complete, therefore all its energies are directed inwards only. Nothing is going out. That is why it is eternally stable. That is why it is inexhaustible.
कभी
It's
भी
a
हम
great
समाधान
thought. Not a great thought. It's a great thing to know. Like, it gives you some sort of sukh.
Some sort of peace. Now, okay,
Yes.
it's like often there are a lot of these narratives in society also. Now that we've used up 80% of our brain in all this, and now we have only 20% left or something.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
limited space storage.
This gives a sense of samriddhi. That's what it gives, like nice feelings. Overall, it is wonderful.
Yeah.
हम इसके बाद समाधान को प्रकाश रहता संकल्प के लिए उससे ज्यादा प्रामाणिकता के लिए हमारे पास शक्तियां सदा सदा तत्पर रहता है कभी भी हम इसके बाद समाधान को प्रकाशित नहीं कर सकते हैं प्रमाणित नहीं कर सकते हैं ऐसा कोई चीज होते ही नहीं
There is never a state in which we will be like, after this, now I can no longer evidence anymore, or I have no more capacity to evidence anymore. There is no such state.
इसलिए मनुष्य के जीवन शक्तियां अक्षय है ये बात प्रमाणित होता है
Therefore, the fact that the humans' Jeevan's forces are inexhaustible becomes evidence.
इसी विधि से वो ये भी तृप्ति माने स्थिति में बल होता है स्थिति में बल गति में शक्ति
In fact, he's saying just what you were saying, that, and in this very way, we have the tripti, we have the contentment, the fulfillment that because we have inexhaustible forces, therefore we have this sort of fulfillment. Then there is also that so powers are in the state and forces are in the motion. Sthiti mein bal, gati mein shakti. So this is a concept that's going to come again and again. That everything has a state and everything has a motion. Every entity is a state as well as it's performing certain motions. So in the Jeevan, the states are what we call power and the motions are what we are calling forces.
गति में होने वाला एक दूसरे के साथ आता है ये स्थिति में रहने वाला स्वयं को अनुभव होता है
So what happens in motions happens with one another and what occurs in the state is experienced within oneself.
तो हम जितने भी आस्वादन किया ये इससे क्या तृप्त हुए कि नहीं ये हमको पता लगता है जितने भी हम तुलन किया उससे हमको माने तृप्ति मिला कि नहीं, जितने भी हम साक्षात्कार किया, बोध किया, अनुभव किया, इस
Now he's listing all the powers. Huh?
Hmm.
See there? So all the tasting that we have done, aswadan is the word given, and tasting is basically not just tasted from the tongue, but all the jivan. The first power is that it experiences everything that comes in through the senses. So so the word given to it in Hindi is aswadan, and you could say in English you could say tasting or relishing. So that experience of that sensation is this word. I think I'll use relishing. So all that one relishes is experienced in oneself. Then the next power is all that is compared or weighed.
Tulan.
Tulan is experienced within oneself. All that is sakshatkar is the next power of the Jeevan. And the word I used for it in the translation is acquaintance. All that we have been acquainted with. It's a new concept altogether.
Got it.
Because sakshatkar in Hindi is when you actually in Hindi traditional philosophy is used for when you see a god or goddess face to face, when you get to see them right before you. In
Sakshat.
here, it's not talking about that exactly that, but it's a sort of redefinition of that term. But it is again an acquaintanceship with realities. So first there is
Correct.
relishing, then there is weighing, and then there is this acquaintanceship.
Sakshatkar. Yes, I want to say some sakshatkar is you have given a very nice translation. This is this only, na sakshatkar मतलब आपने जो देखा, like in a more
मिलना.
simple thing. Sakshi, like sakshi also means कि you were
Yeah,
the seer. मेरे सामने वो मैं साक्षी हूँ इसका. And
Watching.
yeah,
साक्षात्कार जो आपकी आंखों के सामने हुआ, it's more of seeing. So it's a very what you're acquainted with because of seeing, like not
yeah,
acquainted because of hearing from someone. That's the difference, like of sakshatkar ka power. So it's a very
yeah.
good
Actually, maybe
translation.
I can use witness also. Sakshi is
Hmm.
maybe something like that also. So good one. So because so all if you'll observe, so the next is bodh or oh shucks, now I can't remember how I translated these. 1 second, let me just open it. We've recently finished translating them. Mm. No. And if I have them all in front of me, yeah. Buddh, contemplation and visualization. Buddh. Cognition. Cognition is what I've used for both. Because usually also both is related with cognitive things. So cognition is also experienced within oneself. And finally, experience or anubhav is also experienced within oneself. So yeah, the powers of the Jeevan are relishing, weighing, acquaintanceship or witnessing, cognition, and eventually complete experience. So actually, if you see it, it is an increase. They are all experiencing. So even when you start out with relishing, you are experiencing the sensations. That's also a sort of experience. Even when you are weighing, you are experiencing, okay, what is this? Is this better or this is worse? There's another dimension of experiencing it. You're adding something. Even when you witness something, it is also a deeper experience. When you've cognized it, that's also a deeper experience. And ultimate experience is just anubhav, is just the complete experience of something. So that is the powers of the Jeevan that he is talking about. I'll go back to the video. These, I think this is the first time he's mentioned all of these in
Hmm.
this workshop.
से तृप्ति मिला कि नहीं, इस बारे में क्या उससे हमको माने तृप्ति मिला कि नहीं, जितने भी हम साक्षात्कार किया, बोध किया, अनुभव किया, इससे तृप्ति मिला कि नहीं, इस बारे में हम निरंतर परीक्षण करते रहते हैं। और करते नहीं हैं तो करना होगा ही, और करेंगे ही, दूसरा कोई रास्ता नहीं है। फलस्वरूप मनुष्य जो सतत सुखी होने के लिए रास्ता बन जाता है। तो इन पांचों,
So everything that we relish, everything that we weigh, everything that we witness, or everything that we cognize, in all of these, we are constantly testing out whether it has been fulfilled or not. Whether my relishing has been fulfilling, whether my weighing has been fulfilling, whether my witnessing has been fulfilling. We are constantly testing this out. And if we aren't already testing it out, then we will have to test it out. We must test it out.
सुखी होने के लिए रास्ता बन जाए।
And this time, tulna, it's your व्यवहार tulna also, na? And then you can test whether this व्यवहार gave me fulfillment or it did not, and then it will help you form your future व्यवहार. Is that what
Yeah.
he is also trying to say? Like
Yeah.
testing करनी ही पड़ेगी, क्योंकि उसी से समझ की एक तरह से प्रोग्रेस हो गया, आप आगे बढ़ोगे, वो आपका टूल हो गया, ये सारे आपके टूल हो गए टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट व्हाट गिव्स फुलफिलमेंट एंड व्हाट डज नॉट.
Because our whole goal is fulfillment. Therefore, everything that we are doing, we need to check whether it was fulfilling or not. So, the
Understood.
mechanism will also be elaborated on in more detail. What exactly we do when we are doing Tulan. That's quite an elaborate expansion. Exactly what all are we weighing and how are we weighing. So, but yeah, everything is done for fulfillment. So we are also actually saying, we ate this. Did I like it or not? So, in fact, that liking or not is the weighing. When we taste it, we feel whether we like it or not. And then when we think about it, we weigh, did I like it or not? So constantly when we are experiencing, from the smallest of experience to the most dynamic of experiences, we're constantly checking whether it was fulfilling or not. And if we are just going through experiences without testing this out, then we will have to, because otherwise we have no way to find our way towards greater fulfillment, which is what we need.
Tell me this, checking it out, whether it was fulfilling or not, that process of checking, thinking or whatever, is that cognizing or cognizing at a higher level? Or is
Cognizing is at the higher level. So you're constantly saying, so when you say something at the level of the man or at the level of relishing, when you're tasting something, at that level, it is definitely not cognizing. It reaches your tongue, it reaches the Jeevan, and you feel, whether I like it or not, a feeling comes in you. Then if you choose to think about it, then that thought comes in you. Did I like it or not? Or was it good for me or not?
Is that part called cognizing?
Tulna.
No. What is it? This relishing is that process. That weighing is that process. Cognizing happens in the buddhi. The bodh is what, yeah. So, I mean, that's just a word. Actually, we've chosen to give the bodh process the word of cognition. But the way I suppose we use in general, the way I suppose you are using it, whether we are cognizing it or not, I think what you mean is, are we concluding it as a thought or not?
Yes, that's correct. So, because one final cognition, when you become one with Jeevan, that is both and everything in that one. But before that, there are stages of, cognizing. Yeah. Okay, this issue of my life is sorted, or whatever. This this part is completely resolved once and for all. That really, and then you think, oh, okay, it's done. And you pack it and put it aside forever because it's now become part of your new nature or whatever. Jeevan ka wo samajh aa gaya. So that is one stage,
Right.
one thing has got cognized.
Right. So we have been using cognize for thinking only. Now here this is a proposal because it will talk about how the Jeevan has actually 10 activities. 10 processes are going on in the Jeevan. It has the potential of these 10. We are only living in 4.5. So, there are 5 powers and 5 forces, of which we are using 3 forces and 2.5 powers. So naturally, the words we have come up with are also related to these 4.5 only. And since we are not living out the remaining 5.5, we don't have very clear vocabulary for it. So the word cognizing, because the aspiration with which it is used is, or the word both, the aspiration with which it is used, it is generally a more deeper sort of understanding. And therefore, we've chosen to place it at this level, which is number 4 in powers. Not the 5th is experience, 4th is cognition, 3rd is acquaintanceship, and 2nd, in fact, only the 2nd force is thought. So what we call cognizing happens at the level of thought.
Okay. Now, yeah, got it. Very nice.
Drishta, aswadan, tulan, sakshatkar, then bodh, and then
Anubhav.
anubhav.
Wow, you remembered all of them. It was haphazardly mentioned, yes.
There is
Yeah.
also, I feel, a sequence to it in mind also. It wasn't that hard. At least sakshatkar tak both tak I was clear. Those can next I would take what.
Yeah. So those are the 5 powers. Next, I suppose we will talk about the 5 forces, corresponding forces.
इस बारे में हम निरंतर परीक्षण करते रहते हैं और करते नहीं हैं तो करना होगा ही और करेंगे ही, दूसरा कोई रास्ता नहीं है। फलस्वरूप मनुष्य जो सतत सुखी होने के लिए रास्ता बन जाता है।
Right. And this is, so we are constantly checking whether we have been fulfilled or not. And if we aren't constantly checking, then we will have to. And that is how the way for humans to reach happiness sort of forges itself.
Yeah.
तो इन 5 अवस्थाओं में तृप्ति ही कुल मिलाकर के सुख, शांति, संतोष, आनंद की ख्याति पाता है। ये नहीं
So it is the fulfillment in all these 5 states that is given the name of happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss. Khyati or renown. It is a fulfillment in the 5 states, which is given the great name Khyati. I can't figure out the word for Khyati. Renown, which is renowned as happiness, peace, contentment, and bliss.
इन्हीं 5 अवस्थाओं में मनुष्य की समझदारी प्रमाणित होता है, इन्हीं 5 अवस्थाओं में प्रमाणित हो जाता है। इस ढंग से मनुष्य का वैभव स्वयं में राज्य के रूप में प्रतिष्ठित होता है।
So it is in these 5 states that the human's understanding gets evidenced, that the human's vaibhav, the human's grandness gets established. And in this way, it is in these very 5 states that the human's Rajya, now he says, gets established. Now, Rajya is one's the thing that one essentially has authority, the area that one has authority over. Rajya is kingdom. Literally, Rajya is kingdom or territory. that one has authority over. And he's saying that, so these 5 states are the territory over which we have authority. These become our kingdom.
मनुष्य का वैभव स्वयं में राज्य के रूप में प्रतिष्ठित होता है। राज्य का मतलब होता है राजयतेति सा राज्य है। वैभवित होना ही राज्य है। कौन वैभवित हो भाई? मनुष्य के पहले सारे बात वैभवित है ही है। तो
Sorry, I'll have to listen to this again.
पांचों अवस्थाओं में मनुष्य की समझदारी प्रमाणित होता है। इन्हीं पांचों अवस्थाओं में प्रमाणित हो जाता है। इस ढंग से मनुष्य का वैभव स्वयं में राज्य के रूप में प्रतिष्ठित होता है। राज्य
So in this way, at these 5 levels, the grandeur of the human becomes established in the form of Rajya or kingdom.
राज्य का मतलब होता है राजयतेति सा राज्य है। वैभवित होना ही राज्य है।
So kingdom, by kingdom, we mean self-governance. So, Rajya means Swarajya, he's saying. So kingdom implies self-governance. This is what you have authority over. This is what you are governing yourself. What do you say?
राज्य का मतलब होता है राजयतेति सा राज्य है। वैभवित होना ही राज्य है। कौन वैभवित हो भाई? मनुष्य के पहले सारे बात वैभवित है ही है। तो मनुष्य वैभवित होना ही मानवीयता से
And manifesting one's grandeur itself is self-governance. So, Vaibhavit hona hi Swarajya hai. Vaibhavit essentially is being present in one's grandeur, or showing one's grandeur. So showing one's grandeur itself is self-governance. And so then who has to show their grandeur? Now everything else in existence, all the other 4 orders, are already showing their grandeur. So it is only humans that are left to do this.
मानवीयता से परिपूर्ण होकर वैभवित होना ही राज्य का मतलब बनता है।
So, the meaning of kingdom, or the meaning of self-governance, is itself the individual or the human becoming completely filled with humanity, with humaneness, and then evidencing that humanity. That itself is our kingdom. That itself is our self-governance. So, Prachi, in the beginning, you had asked about Swayamya Vyavastha, no? About being an order in oneself. So, you're saying at these 5 levels, we can show our own individual internal order. When we are fulfilled in all of these 5 levels, that itself is our being orderly in ourselves. That is our self-governance.
उसका सारांश यही बनता है।
But तुलना में fulfill होना means what? I think तुलना करके you can, or anything like food में, okay, you got food or anything like aswadan जो tasting of anything, you got fulfillment of that.
Yeah.
I don't understand तुलना में how do you get fulfilled?
Right. So he's saying कि tripti, fulfillment after each of these. So aswadan के बाद we will decide whether this was to our tastes or not to our tastes. Tulna mein we will decide, okay, whether this was whatever criteria. It will talk about weighing in more detail. There are 6 criteria, of which we are currently only using 3. That is why this is the one which is only half used. Out of 4.5, this is the one which is half used within the Jeevan right now. So whether, after weighing, we will decide, oh, it is our weighing that enables us to decide whether we were fulfilled or not. Just like it is our Tasting that and allows us
Oh.
to decide whether we were fulfilled at the level of aswadan or not. It is our witnessing that allows us to decide in this thing whether we are feeling fulfilled or not. So
You mean what we witness will decide, what we weigh will also have a role in deciding whether we are
yeah.
fulfilled or not. Got it. Okay.
So
Go on.
any one experience, for that one experience, we are tasting it, relishing it in terms of our senses. We are also thinking about it and weighing it out based on our criteria. Then we are also witnessing. So actually, this witness thing is something we haven't been doing as yet. So we'll go into what that means. So that same experience, what are we witnessing in that experience? What is the meaning we are making out of it? Actually, what we witness are purposes, are meanings. So उसका हम क्या अर्थ निकालते हैं? What meaning do we derive from what we are witnessing or what we are experiencing? That will be fulfilling or unfulfilling. Then what we are cognizing out of it, and then what we are experiencing. Now, with cognizing and experience, it is no longer about particular experiences. That is an absolute state. It is only till witnessing that it is about particular experiences. But yeah, all of these are about making different levels of experiencing things, realities.
Yes. Go on.
It's something new, so slowly it will become clearer and clearer. Okay, so it's past 7:30. Anything, Manjuji, before leaving?
No way. Like it's an MBA.
This is very technical. It took me so long. Growing up, this was the part that took me most time to kind of understand and even see the relevance of, actually, because it seemed like there's just so much technicality, and what is the need for me to get this? I want to understand
Like
values
the
and all that.
logical way of doing it. I mean, liking the logic in it.
Yeah.
And the explanation of the logic, that is.
Yeah. So yeah, it is there. It is just, I mean, it does have a relevance. It does have meaning. It's just, it is much more technical and takes a lot more years to kind of memorize it. But yeah, it's quite amazing also.
Very. I'm so glad you're doing this. I can't tell you.
Even I'm glad. It's good for me also.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
See
I
you
will go
tomorrow.
over it. I may have a question or something.
Okay. Also, Prachi was sharing initially that since you have classes on Monday, as you said also, we can just change the timings for Mondays and leave
Only
everything else.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
This yoga class I committed a long time back, no? So I can't get out of it. Don't want to even.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monday
Thank-
we'll do 7.
Okay.
Perfect. Good.
Okay. Bye.
Okay.